Yay, 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 we're live. Hello, hello, and welcome to This Week Magnet Marketers. It's Training Tuesday Live, and today we're diving all into stories. How you can tell a story, really catching your story, and why stories work within your marketing, in your business, and all things that you're doing. And we have the perfect guest with us today to talk just that. It's the story catcher himself, Chad. And super pumped to have him on today. Before we do a formal introduction, just a quick hello if you've not met before. My name is Jessica Phillips with Now Marketing Group, the relationship marketing system, and my awesome co-host, he's Mike Gingrich, president of Digital Hill, the co-founder of the popular apps Waftio, Tab Site, published author extraordinaire, and now the proud owner of an Agora Pulse City, which I'm jealous for. Mike
Alton. There it is. Shout out to Mike Alton, Jennifer.
How's it going, guys? How's it going, Mike?
Hey, I'm doing well. Good to have Chad here.
Yeah. You want to tell everyone about our guest, Chad, if they don't know him, which I'm pretty sure most have seen him around the web.
Yeah, this is one of the most intense and unique and storified bios that I've ever been given. So I look forward to this one here. So following a hardcore snipe hunt, botched pizza robbery, 2 years in a bear suit, and several moments atop a 6-foot unicycle, Chad Illa-Petersen, otherwise known as the story catcher, discovered the compelling power of stories. Today, Chad finds and crafts your brand stories, evoking emotional responses, resulting in higher customer trust, conversion, and retention. And that's why we have him here today. Welcome, Chad.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
I love it.
Your first time guest.
Yeah. And I tell you, if you've not met Chad before, he's going to make you laugh. Like, my cheeks already hurt, and we've only been talking for like a few minutes before we actually kicked the show off here. He is one that does bring a lot of joy and is known for clever things. Like, I mean, have you ever heard a bio like that? I mean, that's awesome. It's definitely memorable, that's for sure. But he is known for stories. I have met Chad. First, I think I met you at Social Media Marketing World, right?
I think the first time we met face to face was in the wrestling ring.
Oh yeah, this is true. That's a funny story in itself. But
Mike is like, I need to know more.
So this is a story. This will be a good example of how to use everyday situations to make a story, actually. So we're not just diverging here, what's been happening, but so I get this message from Chad. We connected online, as many people do. You connect with people online, you start, engaging with them, and sooner or later you may send a message back and forth. And Chad and his wife had sent me a message invite to dinner at Social Media Marketing World before the event had kicked off. And this is an event that happens in San Diego. Highly recommend it. It's going to be in March this year. Social Media Marketing World is having its 8th annual event, I believe. And it's just amazing. Largest group of digital marketers, social media marketers that come together, and brands that it's like a summer camp there. But anyway, Chad and his wife send me this message to have tacos, which, okay, I'm already in with the tacos. But then he's like, oh, and by the way, it's going to be in a wrestling ring. And I get this.
This is Tuesday too. Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday.
Well,
yeah.
Actually, the first thing I told her was I can't tell you where or the details until I can confirm that you're going to go.
Yeah.
I want to keep it secret.
This is true. And so I'm like, okay, but it's like limited access. Like he was like, there's only a few spots like you're going to be in. And like he had mentioned the people there. I'm like, yeah, I want to build deeper relationships with all these people. So I'm like, okay, I'm in. And then I get a photo. And if you've ever seen like Nacho Libre, and the rink that he's in, that is what this looks like. So it's like the whole place is just like an Instagram worthy restaurant, basically. And they have 2 locations in San Diego. I know this because Ian and I that were going to this event actually went to the wrong location first. We're like, we just got punked. Like, we don't see you guys anywhere. And they're like, yeah, we're here. We're in the back. I'm like, no, you're not. So anyway, we get there, and yeah, it's a wrestling rink. You sit in the middle of the rink. There's 6 chairs, maybe tops. I don't know. I don't remember how many people there was.
We had 6. Yeah. They can fit 8.
Okay. Yeah, so we had 6 of us there, and actually got to bond a lot more, like Kelly Noble Marabella, and it was amazing. So we eat tacos in the middle of this wrestling ring, and then you're able to take photos. You can wear the mask. They're a little hesitant. Not sure how many Nacho Libres had wore the mask before me. So, but it was fun. It was really fun, a way to break the ice, and it wasn't such like a formal stuffy dinner where you have to feel like you proper, and whatnot. So yeah, definitely a story worth telling and sharing on social, and not just the photos of your food.
Do you remember how you asked for refills for your drinks?
Yes, you had to ring a bell, like
You,
a bell.
you could either ring your wrestling bell, or you could grab the microphone down.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. There we go.
I need refill.
There we go.
Oh, it was perfect.
Yeah,
So, perfect story.
Memorable for sure.
So that could be something that we use to talk about, the keys to building relationships, but crafting it as that story, right? Like, and telling about how to really invite someone. But really, I mean, you do this very well, but for some of us, it's really hard to kind of think about sharing things in a story way. We feel like we're going to lose someone, or they had to be there, right? But what is it about stories, in your opinion? I mean, your whole business is the story catcher. Like, what is it about stories that for you really resonate with people? Can this be, how is this done online in a real way?
Sure. I think for me, one of the biggest things was, I think about the white papers I get sent, or the case studies, or the spam emails with, we do this and this and this and this and this for your business. And I never want to read them.
Yeah.
But when I do get an email, or I come across something that starts off with a story, and it sucks me in. I remember as a kid, my mom didn't read me white papers and case studies before I went to bed. She read me stories, right? And then you took those stories as a kid and you tried to act like those characters. You wanted to become those characters. And the power of a story is that when you hear them, or you read them, or you see them, if they're told right, you can imagine yourself in the story. You get sucked into it. You become part of it. You feel what the person in the story felt. And when people can feel the same things that you're feeling, the levels of trust just go through the roof. And it's a lot easier to build relationships, which I know is a huge thing for you with your business and relationship marketing. You just can't beat the connection that a story can bring. So
You
Absolutely.
So I mean, that's in a nutshell. At the end of the day, it's about emotions. The story that we just shared about the wrestling ring, most would probably just call that like an anecdote. There wasn't like we could dive in deep, get deep into it and try to find a moment of change. If somebody there, while they were there, they experienced something that made them see networking or building relationships differently. But if there's not really like this moment of big change and something that people can connect to really emotionally, it's probably more of what some would call an anecdote.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you can't still suck them in with that. I mean, for example, when I said the first time we met was in the wrestling ring, obviously Mike was on the hook, right? We had him. He wanted what was happening.
What?
So, but when you drill down and you get to like the real nitty gritty and like a real solid story, is going to have a moment where everything just changed for the person, where they overcame an obstacle, or maybe they didn't, maybe they failed, but they learned from that failure. But it's finding those moments, and sometimes it's hard for us to catch them.
That's what Tim said. He's like, I think everyone knows they should be telling stories, but it's very easy to do it in a superficial way. Like you were saying, like anecdotes. And I think businesses sometimes, as a big brand, they think, okay, if it's a personal story, like, do I have to share it from like the business perspective? Right. And sometimes it's harder, I think, for them to kind of separate, or I should say combine themselves, right? They get so divided in their mind that they can't think I could use a personal experience, right, and share that from a tone that's coming from the brand. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I totally get it. I think what we end up doing as brands and as businesses is we think that our story has to somehow revolve around the product or what it is that we sell. And the story needs to show how our product solved whatever the problem was. What I've found more effective, especially from the get-go, is finding the emotions that they're feeling. If your product helps somebody overcome some type of fear, maybe they're afraid of social media, maybe they're afraid of having a website because they don't understand it and it's very daunting. If you share a story,
maybe that's what it is when the clients don't have a website.
Yeah, if you grew up in a situation where you overcame fear, and you can show in that story the steps that you went through to overcome your fear and become more confident, people can start to relate to that. Oh wow, you know what, I've been afraid, I'm dealing with fear, she's overcome fear, I want to learn more about how she did that. And now a relationship starts. It doesn't have to always be about the widget that you have. At some point you want to introduce that, but maybe not in that story. That's why I'm not a big fan of people will say, well, I need to come up with my brand story. I don't think you have a story. We're all just a sum of multiple stories, multiple experiences and moments that have happened to us. And it's the same in our business. Our business is not the same today as it was yesterday. There's things that change us and we morph. And so all those stories need to be caught and crafted and shared. I don't know if that answered his question or not, but in my head it sounded brilliant.
Oh, it came across very well as well. So I think what are the stumbling blocks? Many small businesses, I think you touched on that. They think that they have to tie it in right away. It has to kind of be relevant to their product, and so they struggle with that gap point of does the emotion that it evokes somehow have to do with my product, or something like that?
Sure. No, absolutely. I will tell you this, the stories about your product normally are going to be more powerful when those come from your customers who've used them in the past.
Amen.
So that's a whole different discussion, right? It's capturing the stories from your customers. So people are more likely to believe your customers' stories about whatever it is you did and how it helped them versus take my word, our stuff works.
Yeah. Good point. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but if you will share stories about yourself and who you are and who your character is, you can have the greatest mission statement on your website in the world. That we believe in integrity and doing the right thing, and our people are number one, and we blah 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 blah. But if you can't show me stories and examples from your life and your day-to-day work that prove that and make me really feel that, it's just words on a website that every other website has.
And I think we're talking about a couple different things here too, right? Because some people are fearful of sharing too much copy, right? Like I've heard that even more so now, like with people looking at websites. So I think social, like differentiating appropriate places for stories, right? Like I think people now on web, at least I'm hearing a lot more, like we want less content, right? Like short and sweet. So like, is there appropriate places to tell certain kinds of stories? And is it delivered better in one way or another, like, video or a written word, is there a way of tying in a concise story without having like those old school pages that go on and on and on? You're just like, just give me the buy button. I know Sally worked for Sally and Joe and Tim, but just give me the buy button. Like, totally. Is there appropriate balance?
So what I've found helps is if, let's say on your website, right? And your homepage has an intro and it starts with a story. And if your story is good, normally it's going to start by painting a picture, painting a scene. It's going to take me to a place. There's going to be some type of physical movement or something that goes on to give me a feeling that there's action happening. But if you can write just a few lines of copy that almost teases and then says, if you want to read more, click here.
Yeah.
And then below that, have some things about your product and whatnot. But I would still always lead with the opportunity for someone to say, I really want to find out what the rest of that story was. I want to know where that was going. So that keeps you from having too much copy in one place where people are like, oh my gosh, I'm going to scroll. Versus I click, I want to read it. So that's usually what I suggest. If you're putting it on social, that's a different ball game. You know, I know, Jessica, you're friends with Lainey, and Lainey sometimes she'll write some long posts, but if things are written well and they suck you in, then you want to read them. You know, video, obviously that's our favorite way to consume content. So I'm always going to encourage people, if they can create a video or afford to create a video that can tell the story, to do it. Photography, the right photo with the right pieces in it can also convey a message. So at the end of the day, every story is different. You know, some need to be written out and read, some need to be put into a video. How many times have you seen a movie though, and then you're like, well, the book was better, you know? So
your imagination. Yeah. But then if you look at what's successful, I think what I'm hearing you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the things that suck you in, you don't always have to go and put it all out up front. You just kind of keep this tone and thread throughout, and you can evolve storyline pieces through your website to kind of convey one story, or keep the tone. And like what I've seen like really successful on YouTube are people that tell short stories that then kind of piggyback off one another to where you're sucked in and you think, oh, I'm only spending 2 minutes. And then before you know it, you're like, holy crap, I just learned everything about this person or watched, you know, an hour of their content and now checked out them here and there and wherever else.
No, you're absolutely right. You know, and I'm not going to go into details because these are your stories, but you and I have chatted and we've shared some information, and you have some compelling stories and some incredible moments in your life that have shaped who you are. But if I were to take all of them and put them into one big story, it would be incredibly long.
Memoir.
Yeah. However, and we haven't had a chance to reconnect since this, but what I will end up telling you when we talk again is that is we need to take them and put them into separate stories and put them in ways that kind of tease and make people say, I want to know how this ended. I want to know how she got past this or fixed this or overcame that. Or
maybe I'm a perfect example for this because I'm one that, okay, I'll use me as the case because I'm going through this with you. And I'm like, I shared, you asked a ton of questions, right? Like creating a story, you're asking questions, right, about your audience. And then I shared answers, but I was like, I don't know if I want to put that out there. You know, like, so what is the reason why somebody would want to share something and put it out there? Like, you know, maybe it's something more personal. So I'm like, is it really related? Like it's something that, it did shape me, but is it really something that I should put out there in a way that's going to connect my audience to me?
I will say that most of the time when I've had something very personal where I thought, do I really want to share this? Is it really relevant, or is this just, it's usually the most relevant. It usually ends up being things that people can actually relate to the most. We don't realize it because most of us don't share it. But we discuss and we talk about being authentic and we talk about being vulnerable and sharing who we are, but then we don't. We still only put out there the great things. And the truth is, a lot of times, some of these personal things or these rough moments, these rough patches, that's not the highlight of the story. That's just the beginning of the story. The highlight and the thing that is remembered is the triumph of the story. Nobody remembers or thinks about Luke Skywalker moping around in the desert in Star Wars, wishing his life was different. Nobody leaves the movie remembering the bad times and the crummy life he had. Everybody leaves the movie remembering that he's destroyed the Death Star, right?
Don't spoil it for me. I haven't watched any of them. Just kidding.
My wife, before we got married, Lainey hadn't seen any of them, so sorry, spoiler.
Just kidding.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So those personal moments in our lives, I'll give you a great example of somebody who allows himself to be vulnerable and shares a story of overcoming and how it shaped who he was. Is my buddy Owen Video. You know, he He talks about going through cancer. He talks about depression and hitting rock bottom, and his ability to pull himself out of that and get where he is today. And that message resonates with people, and it talks about his character and who he is. And people want to be around him. People want to have him talk to them about their videos and their work, because they know that if there's a challenge or something, he's overcome some pretty big ones, that they can count on him to do it. So,
okay, you sold me.
Excellent. Good stuff. Yeah. Hey, couple quick shout outs. Yeah, we got some people that have joined us here. So Angus, good to see you here. Tony Christensen, let's see. And Tim Lewis, we got some feedback from you there. Donna Gilliland's been watching there. Yeah, so appreciate all these people joining us. And let's see, I want to come back to Tim. Tim had a comment in here.
I try to ignore most of the things Tim says.
Yeah. Well, he did have he had a good point here. He said the best place to bury a body is in the middle of a long Facebook text post, right? So, I thought that was pretty good, Tim. Right? Yeah, give me credit on that one.
Those are some of my best performing ones. I would have to disagree. Like, I don't know.
No, a long Facebook text post.
Yeah.
Are some of your best performing ones? Yes. I agree with that completely.
It is. Like, if you look at, not that you want to scroll through because they're all long, but the ones that are longer actually perform better for me. I don't know. And I think it's because you get into it and you're actually talking. I think it's what you're talking about. And I think that's the point here, probably, that we're really getting to. It's like, are you just talking to talk, or are you bringing people in, inviting them into something that they can really resonate with, right? Like, so I could definitely see where a long post that just rambling on could definitely get lost.
Oh, sure.
I just got slapped by George. I saw that, George, and I couldn't butt in then because Jessica was talking, but I missed giving a shout out to George, and he called me on it, so I apologize there. Ross Brand also here, so I appreciate you guys.
And I guess I have to apologize to George. I messed with him yesterday. He was testing some live features for Social Media Week in Lima, and I caught his test live, and the camera wasn't on. It was just like this yellow screen, but you heard him going, okay, am I live? Can you hear me?
This could be a good story.
It's sure. I'm live. Am I live?
Oh,
does anybody know if I'm live?
Poor George.
I caught it, and I recorded the audio, and then I posted it as a real life 911 call.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. And you just pick on them. And yeah, shout out to Amy as well in here. And so sorry that we were just talking about that. I think I am like so like do really fast on stuff, and Mike's so slow and calm. So I'm like, is he gonna do it, or do I talk? And so it's a smooth dance that we do back and forth sometimes.
That was fine. I was trying to scroll through. I was like, did I miss anybody? Did I miss anybody? And then I missed my moment there. But no, I got to come back to Tim's comment here. So Tim, there were signs at a hospital he went to last week for an appointment that said, we put the patients first. And then it took 2 hours for what should have been a 30-minute checkup. So what's the story there? Or Tim has a story about how he felt after that, for sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah, there's a communication message there too, that this is what they say, this is what happened, what's my experience.
Well, yeah, I mean, the last thing you want to do is tell a story and sell somebody on the fact that you're trustworthy and then lie to them, right? So no backfire. So if you're going to tell a story and suck me in and connect with me emotionally, you better live up to the hype. So,
hey, back to like business to business though. I feel like sometimes a B2B company, they're like, I mean, you're talking about this, emotions and that type of thing. So I don't know that we do sell a widget. So how are we going to do that? So how do you answer them when somebody kind of has that fear or question for you?
Sure, no problem. So at the end of the day, right, business to business, I think, is a goofy term. We're friends with our good buddy Brian Kramer, right? His H to H, human to human. Every business, there's people. There's people in business, and those people, I I'm going to assume have emotions. There's only a couple people I've ever met where I wondered if they did. And it's the same concept. You're still sharing stories that are going to connect with them. I think one of the questions you guys sent me was, how does this work with a boring brand? And my answer to that is something's not boring to somebody who's interested in it, right? So we might find a brand and be like, oh, that's a boring brand.
That's tweetable right there.
Somebody's interested in it. So
right, they've been doing business. They've been selling things. They've existed. Yes,
they have.
Which is a good point. Yeah, because case studies, like for some of the B2B clients that we work with that are very like unsexy industries, like those are the ones that perform the best because of the story. So good point.
Yeah. So everything's interesting to somebody, right? It might be boring to me, but there's somebody out there who's interested in it. The other thing I think where we make the mistake is that we make the product the hero of the story.
Yeah.
Right. And I can't get emotionally attached to your product. I can relate to the human experience and the things that you've gone through or your customers went through when they used it. The example I always use, and maybe this is because I'm a big Star Wars fan, I need to find another example. But when you leave Star Wars, you want to be Luke Skywalker. Except for Tim Lewis, he probably wanted to be Darth Vader, but that's another story for another time. Okay. You don't leave there wanting to be the Force, right? You leave wanting to be able to learn how to use the Force, but you want to be Luke Skywalker. You want to be like him. And it's the same with the products and the things that we sell in our business and our brand. We should leave wanting to be like you or have a relationship with you and be able to win the way you did with the product that it is you're trying to sell me. Does that make sense?
That does. So and I know we're already at 30 minutes, but I really think it'd be important to share a little tip of advice for someone that's like, okay, like I get it now. And that's right. Like I remember stories. I don't remember, features and all that stuff, but I remember stories that I'm told. So I really want to incorporate a story into my business. Like, is there a couple tips or steps that you go through with someone when you're helping them like draw the story out so they can start thinking about the stories that they may not even think that they have, in their business?
Well, I would say one thing that is very helpful for me, and I encourage people to do, is at the end of the day, if there was a moment or something that happened, just keep a spreadsheet or a journal or something, but just make a couple of notes. I have a spreadsheet that just says possible stories. And at the end of the day, I just jot a couple. I don't write the whole story down. I come back later and I'm like, you know what? I want to work on that story. I want to make that a story. But write them down so you don't forget the moments when they do happen. There's some tips and tricks to kind of help you get your brain going. I'm going to share those in Lima. So we'll just leave that as a tease. Yeah. But find the moment where something changed and then start your story by painting a picture and taking us somewhere. Don't just jump into the story. Take us somewhere. Those are just a quick tips off the top of the head, but I know we're like running on time, so.
I didn't know. I like it.
So I can go all day long. That's not a problem. Jessica, when you and I first talked, it was funny because I was sending you a questionnaire and you said, I prefer to do audio. I can do it with audio. Right?
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's great. If you open up the attachment I just sent to you, it'll say, please respond with audio.
As soon as I see something, I was like, no, yeah, I can't. Like, this is why I send audio messages all the time to anyone in here that's got messages from me. Chances are 90% of the time it's audio.
But I'd already asked for that. I was going to ask for it. And what happens when I hear that audio is I can find those moments better where I'm like, okay, that really means something to her.
And I think that's a tip too, because like even when we're helping clients like craft website copy, like for their brand, we always interview them, have some questions out, right? And interview them and then record it too. Because like you said, you'll hear the passion when it comes and then you can like follow questions back, kind of dig in deeper and find out that there really is a story into something that you didn't know about. So I am so pumped to hear you speak at Social Media Week Lima. Chad is going to be there as a speaker. Mike will be back as well as a speaker. Social Media Week Lima, that is June 17th and 18th. Hopefully you've already snagged your ticket, but if not, it's going to be 2 days of just powerhouse content like this guy, like Mike, and diving into unfiltered. So how do you create a brand in this dark social world and create conversation, community in this dark social world? Meaning, like, how do you get people to want to dig in deeper to that relationship with you and get them into the inbox, and participate with them? Because more people are there's so much content that's out there, as we've talked about, spam emails and web copy and all this stuff, that it's really hard to capture attention. So how do you capture it? How do you amplify your message? How do you keep people, coming back and wanting to build community with you? That's what we're going to be covering for those 2 days. So if you'd like more info on Social Media Week Lima, it's sociallima.com. And we'll be having more speakers on here sharing some of their tips and words of wisdom here each week on the show. So super pumped for that.
My favorite conference. I had such a great time last year, so I'm excited to come back, and this time as a speaker. So
awesome. Looking forward to hearing you, and thanks, Chad. I appreciate you joining with us today and the insights you brought around stories. Excellent stuff.
Thank you, guys. It was fun.
Now I'll get back to you and approve that, yes, we can share that story. You've convinced me. Good job. So you did your work here. I'm just kidding. Thank you all for joining in with us today, both live and in the replay. Let us know what are some stories maybe that you've had in your business that have really worked, or have you seen a brand use stories really well? Or maybe you have a question for Chad. And if you do, Chad, what is the best place that people can find you and follow up?
My home address is thestorycatcher.com. Facebook, it's actually /catch your story. I know the general rule is you want to have the same name throughout, but
there's a story behind that, I'm sure.
Well, the Twitter one is just some guy in Germany that's just sitting on it. But Twitter is @_storycatcher. So you can tweet me there. I think you've got the link somewhere.
We'll post the links in here as well as the recap. But super honored to have you on again with us, Chad. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you as always, Mike, for being here as well, and all of you. So thank you again. We will be back here next Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with another special guest. If you'd like to learn more and sign up for the notifications, you can go to magnetmarketers.com. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thanks, folks. See you, Chad. Take care.
You bet. Thanks.